guys, welcome back. I know we've been away for a while, but due to a couple of things, we've had to delay this episode, but we're finally here. So I know it's been a few weeks, but we're finally going to get down to that Premiership final. I mean, what a game. I mean, one of the best I've seen in a while, and we're lucky to be joined by Harlequins member Oscar Beard. Oscar, how are you, buddy?
I'm all good, thank you. And yourself? Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, no, all good. I mean, we'll get on to that. I mean, it was an unbelievable game, probably for you, I'm sure, an unbelievable few days.
Yeah.
And we've got you here. So I just want to talk to you about sort of your journey through rugby. So obviously you've been involved with Quins from the start, you're in the academy. So we'll talk from the process, how you first got into the academy and sort of the route you've taken to get to where you are now.
Yeah, so I was at Farnham Rugby Club. I was in a Hampshire school at Lord Wandsworth College. And it was basically through one of my mate's dads, who was he was actually playing at Hazelmere, sort of through that Surrey club route, sort of just got me a trial into the under-13s DPP, and then just sort of went from there through the ranks. And yeah, pretty much through there, through the EPDG, and then all the way up for under-18s, and then getting signed, and pretty much from there, yeah.
Was rugby always sort of the goal, the dream? Is it the passion that you've always had? Do you think you could always take it this far to get into the professional game?
To be honest, I loved it from a young age. I think the reason I do it is I really enjoy it. I love playing rugby, and I think that was always my main aim, just enjoy it. And then I think when I was under 16s, I was at Cranley School, which the rugby was really good there, is when I began to take it a lot more seriously and seeing it as a potential career path and thinking I really want this. I mean, to be honest, I think I've always wanted to be a rugby player and go and play professionally. I mean, that's always been a dream of mine. So yeah, I would say I've always sort of wanted to be a rugby player.
How did obviously a lot of our listeners are in the sort of 16 to 18 age bracket. Did Cranley go in a way of helping you sort of get towards this? Because obviously lots of public schools are built for rugby, Wellington, Millfield, Sedbergh, etc. They help push their boys forward, but some sort of leave them. What did Cranley do for you?
No, I mean, absolutely. Cranley were brilliant. From under 16s, I sort of played with the first team there, and just their relationship with Quins. I mean, they'd had a lot of boys who had been signed to the senior academy and gone on to do great things with Quins. So their relationship was really good, and there'd be Quins coaches coming in. A guy called Mark Mapletoft who was really great with Quins. He did a lot of kicking and passing and skill stuff with me. So I think Cranley's standard of rugby was really high up. I mean, we had a strong couple of years. In fact, the year above me and year below me were all pretty strong. So we had a pretty successful few seasons. But I definitely think they aided me massively, and I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for Cranley. Just the professionalism of everything, from the coaching to the S&C perspective. I mean, it was all really well gelled with Quins.
I think that sort of demonstrates, I mean, from my perspective, how the game's developing so much lower down. Obviously, it's at Premiership stand, it's incredible, but schools are so much buying into this sort of idea that people need to be training and sort of physically fit from a young age, and it's throwing safety. And so I think that you can see how that's affects the likes of you, Atkinson, Baxter, and just name people who we've had on here have all commented on sort of they've been ready to go into the professional game. They haven't felt like there's been too much for a bridge. Have you felt there was anything in particular that you had to work on massively and which has changed since leaving school?
I think the main thing is just the size element, because I'm a centre. I played 10 at school sort of in my last year, but I was mainly a 12, 13, and now at Quins I'm mainly a 13. Obviously, I made my debut on the wing. I can play on the wing also, but I think it was just mainly the size thing, the pure mass and the strength and power element. I mean, everything else was, it wasn't similar. Obviously, it was a lot quicker at Quins. Everyone was a lot more skillful. I had a much better skill set all round. So defensively, I had to step up massively. I think that was the biggest work on for me, just going in and trying to read sort of people's bodies and stuff like that before they'd got the ball, and things like that. But I think in general, the sort of S&C side was probably the biggest shock. Just looking at some of the size of the guys, I was like, oh my God, here we go. But no, it's been awesome, and learning off those guys just from watching has been brilliant. But I definitely think overall everything was a step up, but skill set wise, a lot more people everyone is very skillful, but it's what I needed to work on to sort of try and stand out in that group. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I'd say.
In the transition from sort of being obviously your full-time education with rugby, obviously being a passion, but obviously you still had studies, how did it go from then suddenly it was rugby? Obviously, I'm not sure whether a couple of other guys have talked about Open University and stuff, but is rugby just sort of, it must have taken over almost?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've still through school applied for university and still will plan to do some sort of university, whether it's online university or deferred places or whatever. But I do like I remember obviously it was a bit weird for sort of our year going in with COVID and everything, but just the amount of time sort of we had in our hands was suddenly like, oh, because obviously school's so full on, but gradually as the season gets going, the rugby was really full on and would sort of get back. And because at our stage or of sort of our group of players is very much a development stage, so it's not maintaining. So I think just physically it was so draining. And I know a lot of the lads sort of in their third, fourth years then will have sort of looked to do more university stuff. But it was definitely a bit of a shock, particularly going into the full season. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I guess just going from school to sort of straight into it with a weird COVID year, having loads more time on your hands and straight into it again was it was full on, but it was good. It was good fun.
Obviously, talking about that, you are still that 19, 20-year-old guy. Are you managing to find the balance of still having fun with your mates as well being a professional sportsman?
Yeah, so that's something I probably found more difficult. Because going in with COVID, obviously my A levels finished really weirdly, so I never had an A level summer, and I went straight into Quins, and I was head down, and to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way. I just wanted to go fly fully into rugby, give it my best shot, and put myself in the best chance of sort of playing. But to be honest, like it has been hard watching all my friends at university, like Exeter with yourself and and Loughborough and everywhere having a good time and having these great big holidays. Well, I've sort of been in training, but I mean, I only realised, well, obviously I realised why I do it, but yeah, I had to sacrifice a lot, and I wouldn't change any of it, given my debut and stuff. I think that was a real, it's all worth it sort of thing. But especially now, I mean, after my injury in my debut game, my off season's looking very small. I only get 2 weeks off instead of the 5, so I've been in rehabbing and we'll be in tomorrow 3 times a week, but we'll get a 2-week period off. So hopefully I will enjoy that down in Cornwall with some of the lads. It should be good fun.
Yeah, well, you talk about obviously the COVID effect, but hopefully, as in everything's opening up now, fingers crossed that you'll be able to sort of try and find that balance even better. That now not in the bubble, you're allowed time off. You talk about Cornwall. I'm down in Cornwall at the moment. I bumped into Will Stewart today. So obviously,
really, no way.
So as in, like, obviously the players are now hopefully having to find that balance. So fingers crossed that becomes easier. Obviously, talking about the movement into the squad, but there any players in particular sort of helps you merge one of the senior players? Obviously, walking into camp, you're looking at Harlequins backs, looking at Mike Brown. Obviously, he's now moved on, but was there anyone in particular who helped you out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone was very helpful. The ones that stand out for me, Joe Marchand being an outside centre, sort of going through my under-20s clips with me has been brilliant. And sort of just watching him, he's a world-class 13s really helps. Likewise with Luke Northmore, James Lang, in that sort of centre, outside centre position. But even guys like, I remember when I first went in, I spoke to Danny Kerr a lot, Mike Brown, and just listening to the experience and sort of how it was for them was sort of really refreshing, knowing that everyone was going through what sort of we went through. And obviously it was a bit more difficult in that we couldn't go on loan. So sometimes training was a bit like harder. We wouldn't be fully training with the squad all the time. But no, they've definitely been sort of really helpful, especially going into that game v Sale. I mean, I was probably annoying a lot of them, like guys like Ben Tapawai, Joe March and Aaron Morris. But no, those are the main guys who sort of helped me out. But everyone has been really helpful.
Obviously, you named a few there. But what was it like, sort of your first day having like signed the contract in the first in the senior squad, walking in, seeing the likes of Danny Kerr, Mike Brown, Joe Marler? It must have been pretty. Don Brandt must have been pretty surreal.
Yeah. Oh my God, I remember it so clear. I walked into the physio room, and it was James Lang in there, and I remember someone I'd looked up to from being in the sort of under 18s and younger. I remember doing some rehab, and they were all joking around in there. And then seeing him, I was a bit like, a bit shaky, a bit nervous. And as soon as I started talking to him, I was like, hold on, this guy's just normal. Like, they're all normal blokes. They all like to have a laugh and stuff. So that was pretty refreshing. And he sort of really helped me sort of get some confidence going around the place, and was really friendly. But I then remember seeing Danny Kerr, and it was, yeah, it was so weird. You know, when you watch those guys on TV for so long and you look at them, you're like, oh my God, they're real people, sort of thing. It was one of those moments. But likewise, they're all really friendly, and everyone was really nice and welcoming.
Any occasions of you being sort of the new kid on the block, having a few jokes or being played on you?
Sorry?
Any occasions of you being sort of the new kid on the block and having some jokes or practical jokes played on you?
Yeah, so no, there were a lot. So I'm quite not introverted, but a quiet person going in. So they were sort of, some of the lads were getting into me, some of the physios, and then I got named Mini March for a little bit at the start, because apparently Joe was quite similar. But apart from that, it was all pretty good, because it was quite weird going in, because we weren't with the squad straight away, so you'd only see them walking around, so they never really got to know us properly until later in the season. So I guess that element, it was a bit like, looking back on it, was frustrating, because you want to get thrown straight in and train with all the guys, but we didn't, because of COVID and like a pre-season. So it was a bit different for my year. But to be honest, I didn't really get that stuck into it. I mean, I guess just sort of the big dog sort of joking around was always a bit intimidating. When you'd walk in, you'd be like, oh God, please don't pick on me or joke about me. You sort of freeze. But apart from that, it was all good.
Obviously, we had Finn on a couple weeks ago, but as like a group of youngsters all coming, did you sit quite close together in the early days, sort of like relying on each other for support?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Finn's a great bloke. He's become one of my really good mates this year. And he's an outstanding rugby player. I mean, the hands on him as a tight head and now loose head is just incredible. And I know, I can't really speak for scrums, but no, he's been really good. I mean, coming through with him from the under-13s has been really sort of refreshing. And then making my debut with, I know he played Racing in the European Cup, but having him on my Premiership debut there as well was really nice. And we sort of stuck together that whole day, sort of bricking it. The amount of anxiety was a joke, but coming through with him, sort of playing with him, against him for when I was at Farnham, he was at Cobham, and then sort of going into the senior environment was really good. Then there's another guy, Will Trenholm, who I went to school with, Farnham Rugby Club, and everything like that, which again was really nice, sort of going through that whole journey with him.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's in the sort of camaraderie. Obviously, you guys are then sort of the future of the club, so it's important those relationships start early. Well, obviously, you've mentioned it a couple of times now, but let's go on to your debut. Obviously, it was against Sale, wasn't it?
Yes.
So
yes.
Talk us through that process. When did you find out that you were going to be involved?
Yeah, so it was a weird one, because I'd been away with the under-20s for a few weeks, playing Scotland, and we played Wales. And it was literally the day after the Wales game. I went in on the Monday, and I heard some of the lads, like Aaron Morris and some of the boys, go, "Oh, Yoski might be starting on the wing," and this. And I thought everyone was joking, because I never thought I'd play until I was sort of told. And then I remember doing a gym session and feeling a bit weird, and our S&C coach was being sort of weirdly nice to me, and I thought, oh, there's something up, but I couldn't really tell. It was the weirdest feeling. So that went all well. And then I remember sitting in the changing room, and Charlie Muckram went, Biddy, come here. And I normally, as sort of a first year back, I carry the whiteboard up and down. So I thought he was asking me to go and get the whiteboard. So I was sort of on my way. Like, oh yeah, I'll get the whiteboard. He went, no, we're going to start you on the wing this weekend. And I sort of froze, and I like looked at him, and I was like, what are you? Okay. Yeah. And I didn't know what to say. It was the weirdest, coolest moment. But yeah, no, I just remember freezing and sort of being like, just nerves kicking in, but mixed emotions everywhere.
You had no idea.
Yeah, no, I had no idea, because I hadn't been there the whole week. So maybe some of the lads had heard something. I mean, Finn was on a bike, and he went, Oscar, I've heard you might be starting. And I was a bit like, maybe, surely not. Well, why would they do that sort of now? I haven't been in. And then because I'd been through a lot of my under-20 games with Nick Evans, and I'd been performing well, probably playing my best rugby so far which was just nice to play, to be honest, because obviously Loam was scrapped and stuff like that. And I think on my performances there, they sort of wanted to give me a shot, but I was over the moon. I couldn't believe it.
And then to talk us through game day, then how did you start it? Because obviously must have been a big day for you.
Yeah, so we drove up to Manchester the night before. We were in this crazy hotel, which obviously I'm not used to normally. Traveling on a school bus, sort of half falling apart and everything like that. So the first thing was the bus. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. And then sort of we went to the hotel. That sort of evening was very chilled. I sort of just chilled with Finn, spoke to the lads. It was all very good fun. And that day of the game was the longest day of my life. The amount of anxiety in that day. I remember me and Finn just sitting there, lying next to each other, sort of just. Nerves were an understatement. We were so nervous, but we just couldn't wait. And then we went into Manchester for a coffee, all as a squad, which sort of just calmed everything down and was really nice and sort of relaxing. And so yeah, and that was pretty much it. And then from there, I just chilled with Lewis Liner and Finn, and from there we had meetings. I had a little shirt presentation from Nick, which was really nice and sort of one of those things where I couldn't really believe it was happening until he was sort of there. I was like, oh my god. And Billy just came up to me and said, look, just throw everything out there, really enjoy it. You're there for a reason and everything. And from that, I just sort of, it almost got me sort of really up for it, but also calmed me down. And from there, I was like, okay, it's just a game of rugby. Let's just go and just throw everything into it and see how I do. And then from that, we got the bus. And I remember actually one of my best mates' family somehow got tickets there, and I saw them waving at the bus, and so I waved back, but it was like a blacked out window, so they obviously couldn't see me. I was like, oh, they're not seeing. Then I remember walking out of the bus, and the bus journey was only like 10 minutes, so it felt like an hour. Walking out of the bus, and suddenly a camera in my face, and I was a bit like, okay, what do I do? Just walk straight. And got in, and then was just sort of talking to Joe March, and then as soon as I was in, I was okay. But it was a good day, a weird day, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Talks to the game. Obviously, injury sort of became part of it, but how, in your personal opinion, how was it for you?
Yeah, so we knew as like physical death, full strength side out. They're the most physical team in the league, so we knew physically it's going to be really confrontational. And I mean, for me, I know obviously Faf's arguably the best 9 in the world. So I knew that week I had to just nail my high balls, make sure I'm understanding the backfield well, working well. So I did a lot of that in the warm up, which was pretty cool. Just there in the stadium, biggest crowd I've obviously played in front of, apart from at Roslyn Park, which is pretty weird. But I just remember running out, and obviously they were all chanting for Sale, but just getting such a buzz off it because it's the loudest noise I've ever sort of run out to. And then I remember Sale coming out and McGuigan sort of just staring at me like sort of like hitting himself or whatever. And I was a bit like, oh god, here we go. I was just trying not to look at him because I was so nervous. But yeah, as soon as the whistle went, I sort of blocked out the noise, and the game's a game, and just sort of got on with it.
I mean, from what I've read and what I saw, it was a pretty good game for yourself. I think most people would reciprocate that view on it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew defensively it'd be massive, and given that's been a massive work on for me, and we didn't have any ball, so that was a real way I could show myself, particularly on a wing. It would be easy for me to sort of step away and not sort of make my tackle, well, not be needed in tackles and stuff like that. But I was just so sort of excited to get involved. I just wanted to just help the team in any way and see if I could hit someone or obviously legally with the ball and everything. Because I think on a defensive side, that's almost at the time against sort of the most physical side. I knew it had to be there, because if it's not, they're gonna go all over us. I mean, I prefer to attack. I'd like to be sort of quite well rounded with my kicking, passing. So a few times in attack, I would sort of, me and March would swap around just from how it kicks and how it goes back. And I'd be in at 13, but unfortunately the ball never came. So defensively, I knew I had to be on it. And I remember one of my biggest memories was Faf threw this most outrageous miss pass, and I was like sort of in the backfield. And I remember looking up, and I thought it was Rob Dupree, so the 10/12, and I was thinking, right, this is where I need to step up here and try and sort of hit him pretty hard, get him into touch or whatever. And I remember looking up thinking, that's the biggest 10 or 12 I've ever seen in my life. And then I hit him, I lifted him up a bit, and he went back. And then I looked down again, and I realized it was Dan Dupree. And I was thinking, oh my God, I've just done that to the 8. So I was thinking, if I knew, I'd have just chopped him straight away. But I tried to properly slow the ball down. So I think that was a big moment for me where I knew, I felt more comfortable and more confident sort of in the game, thinking I built it up in my head so much that it was going to be impossible. They're going to bounce me. It's going to be really hard as a small winger. And I just wanted to show that I was physical and that I could deal with it, which I think I could. So from that moment and from at the start, I remember McGuigan getting the ball, and he sort of stepped into me and I almost slipped. But I sort of got square, then I hit the ruck and they had pen advantage. So they ended up getting the pen. But from there, I was just really confident and desperate to sort of get involved and get help in the team.
Then afterwards, was there any sort of initiation or anything for you after your first cap?
No. So I obviously went off after hitting the Rob Dupree. No, the Jean-Luc Dupree, who obviously got me back for hitting his brother.
Yeah.
And I did my ankle. So I sort of got on the bus and, well, actually, no, I'll go before that. So I went in and they checked my Achilles and stuff. And the first thing they said is my Achilles was still intact. So I was like, yes, I'm okay. I'm going to be fine, which I wasn't, of course. Yeah. But so I went back out, and then I was told I had to be drug tested because they do it randomly. So all the wingers had to be drug tested. So I was thinking, oh, this is a pain. I literally can't stand on I can't stand at the moment. So I was trying to sort of do a wee in a pot, as you do, everything. And it was the most difficult thing ever. And the physios wanted to see me, but they had to see me because of all the timings and stuff. So I actually missed the sort of end of game speech and whatever. And then I was put in this boot, and then my ankle started to kick in with a lot of pain. The adrenaline would sort of go off, and I went on the bus, and it was a long journey home. Especially how we'd stop off and I wouldn't be able to go out with the boys to the services to get anything. So it was a long journey home back to the stoop. And then obviously I couldn't drive, so I had to leave my car at the stoop. Luckily Finn took me back to the ACAD house, so we stayed at the ACAD house that night, and we got back very late at like 4 a.m, and my ankle was in a lot of pain.
Fair enough. Right, so before we move on to sort of the big day, I just want to touch on something you said, which I think sort of links it. You talked about you went the day before the game, you all went for a coffee in Manchester. Obviously, Harlequins last season had quite a up and down with the management and everything. Does that sort of represent, as Joe Marler touched on after the final, sort of the togetherness of the group that you tried to implement by the end of it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like the togetherness of the group and sort of the relationships between all the boys was huge. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
And there I was going for a stroke. But it was huge between the boys and the relationship. Sort of everyone, not leaving anyone out. So sort of me and Finn being the youngest guys, we were treated like everyone else was, and sort of wanting to get to know each other. And that relationship off the field went through the roof. And on our socials, or what we could do as socials because of COVID, was huge. Sort of getting to know each other, and you could really see it. Sort of the culture of the club and the togetherness of everyone. Everyone was just enjoying what they're doing off and on the pitch. And I definitely think that was massive towards winning the Premiership as a squad.
After everything that happened, sort of what were the things identified as a squad that you guys wanted to do?
What, as in the final? Or just
as throughout the season, obviously you had the management shake-up and everything.
Oh, yeah. So from that, I don't think we were expecting to do as well as we were in the next few months. So we just said, let's all just stick together, work for each other. And that's pretty much what we did, and went from there and just took every game as it came and sort of just go from there. And that's basically what we did. And we didn't overcomplicate it. We kept it simple and worked for each other. And before we knew it, we were sort of in a final, and sort of emotionally we're there together and went from there. Yeah.
So obviously, right, the final, talk us through it. Obviously your role as a non-playing obviously someone like Finn, I saw he was carrying the water on the day, but as someone who was completely not involved, as far as I'm aware, what was your sort of talk us through your day?
Yeah, so I arrived at the Stoop before the game, and the first thing was just seeing all the players' nerves kicking and everything. But the walk for me on crutches from the Stoop to Twickenham was the longest walk ever. But the atmosphere, the atmosphere from all of the fans was just ridiculous. Like the chanting, the cheering for the whole squad as we walked over was awesome. And then I remember getting in there, and the extra lot came in and sort of started chanting, and then we were chanting at them and whatnot. And it was just sort of awesome. And then game on, and obviously we were there all sitting together, and it kicked off, and it was what it was, and it was a brilliant game of rugby.
Whose idea was it, the walk from the Stoop to Twickenham? Because I bloody genius in my head.
That we were always going to do it. I think it was just the head of operations. Like, we're one squad. It's been such a squad effort given everything that's gone on. I think it was always going to happen.
I think that's what that demonstrated. As no one needs any more, having seen what you guys have done this season. That's what demonstrated the whole how much togetherness there is within your squad as a group.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's on a. Well, sorry, I don't know what's happening. And that's on a coach's perspective as well. Just sort of the relationship with players and everything sort of going forward was huge.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then obviously, what was in the week leading up? What was your obviously your crutches and stuff? Was there anything that you sort of did towards the final, towards the effort, or was you just?
To be honest, not really, because I was sort of rehabbing. Yeah. So I'd be in at completely different times. To the lads, which was really frustrating because I obviously wanted to be a part of that week going into it. But they did do a video from all the families and everything for the match day squad, which was huge, and it was really nice to see all of that.
So obviously the final happened. It was, I mean, you were there, you're in the stands, one of the best games of rugby I've seen this season, if not in the last 5-10 years, Premiership rugby. What was it like being there in the stadium?
It was electric. The noise was just incredible, given the amount of fans actually allowed in. And we all thought from that semi-final, it wasn't going to be anywhere near anywhere near sort of. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is.
Don't worry about it.
From the semi-final, we didn't think it was going to be anything near that, and it was, and we were just like, this is ridiculous, particularly from Jack Noel scoring right at the end. Just the amount of points in that game. I remember sort of they were winning by like 5, and we were like, oh no, and then March goes in the corner, and we're like, this is ridiculous, and then everyone's just going mental at that final try. But it was crazy.
Yeah, no, it was nuts. What were your thoughts when you sort of just let that kickoff landed, Exeter got it, and they sort of ran it straight in? What were your thoughts from the side?
We were like, oh God, here we go. We're like, no, just everyone panicking. And then as soon as we had the ball, we're like, slow it down, and just go from there.
I mean, the final sort of reciprocated the type of brand of rugby Harlequins wanted to play. If you look at the semi-finals where you guys were kind of not down and out, but very much on the back foot, sort of talk us through how you guys wanted to play the attacking rugby. Like, was that always something you thought flary almost?
Yeah, look, Quins have always had that in their DNA. They're just sort of attacking rugby, heads up rugby, and just skillfully. I think all the players were there from that semi-final, sort of going forward, just play the space and counter-attack, be a counter-attacking team. And I think we just wanted to stay true to ourselves. We didn't want to change anything. We didn't want to be like a Sarries or Exeter. And I remember, I don't know who said it, I think it was Joe said it, like we did it, and we did it our way. We didn't do it any other way. And I think that was huge for everyone, showing that you can win a Premiership, not like Sarries and Exeter, who have been dominant for the last 5-10 years, which has been huge. So I'd say that was pretty much it.
And obviously, as we touched on, squad camaraderie, but obviously you had quite a few players who this would have been the final game or was the final game. How much was it that you wanted to put, the team wanted to lay down a performance for them? Obviously, Brown was leaving after that, and a few others. Brown obviously wasn't allowed to play. That's a whole different matter, but.
I think emotionally, just everyone was there wanting to do it for sort of all the players and everything, even the staff. Like Mike Brown's been a huge part of the club, and going forward, I'm sure he'll still be really close with the club. And I think that just made the day even more special, sort of going into it and wanting to do it for those individuals that have been so big for the club.
And I mean, it's been dug for some as the Joe Marler final just because of how good his performance was. There's so many words you could use to describe him, but if you had to in a few words, how would you?
Well, that's hard. Extremely hardworking. I think he works almost harder than anyone else, sort of on and off the pitch. I mean, he's in his physical conditions like exceptional. And then obviously he's got his personality to go with it. He's hilarious. He's really nice to all us young lads, and sort of watching how he goes about his business, sort of at the club and looks after himself is huge. So I think he's really resilient, given sort of the surgeries and everything he's been through. But as well as that, I mean, how mobile he is and skillful he is, sort of at the non-sort of obvious things like the non-set piece stuff and around the park, and his fitness has been like, it's awesome. I know that's way more than 3 words, but yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't know what to say, but just because of how good he's been this year.
And from your perspective, just how good was he in that final?
I mean, he was ridiculous. I mean, particularly as a prop, he played 94 minutes a week before. He just had a baby. It would be very easy for him to say, look, I can't be there. So it just showed his sort of passion for the club and for the boys. And then I think just sort of around the pitch, sort of he led by example, just physically, and his work rate in defence was huge and a massive factor for us sort of winning it. But yeah, I think as well as that, I think everyone was pretty exceptional, but just to have someone like him leading from the front with his experience was just unreal.
And go on then, I'm sure most of our listeners are waiting for this bit. The post-match socials, what happened after?
So we all head back to the stoop with like family and friends, and some speeches went on, and they brought the cup over, and a lot of the players sort of came over still full kit, which was hilarious, and it basically had a bit of a party outdoors, obviously COVID rules and everything. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And then a few of the lads, we sort of went out to a pub afterwards and just celebrated into the night, and then had the social the next day, which was all good fun. Yeah.
Any stories from the social? Without letting anyone down too badly.
Not really. I think one of the big ones was a lot of the boys got their texts. Well, the England boys got their texts for England on the social. So obviously Jack Kenningham, who's had an exceptional season, who's been absolutely awesome and fully deserves it. So someone like him, who hasn't sort of been in the mix for the first 2 years, or even TR, to go where he's come from has been awesome. And he's been outstanding, and it'd be particularly with Webb going out, he's been outstanding. Also just being there when he sort of got the text and everyone going, yes, Kenneth, sort of get in, and celebrating with him and for him was really nice to see. But he got he was nervous, but he did really well, and I'm sure he's loving it and fully deserved. But apart from that, there wasn't too much to say, or that I think I'm allowed to say. So
allowed to say, I think I was probably
particularly as a first year. I don't know. No, it was good.
Was it just a one-day social? Wasn't quite like dudes 3-day bender?
No, it was definitely more than a one day. I mean, a lot of the lads, I mean, I think the more playing squad and the big dogs went on for at least 4 or 5 days after, and sort of just going at it with the cup and everything. As you would,
fully deserved.
Yeah.
Oscar, thanks so much for giving up your evening. I mean, it's taken a while, but we've got there. Yeah. Despite a coughing fit,
I'm so sorry, honestly.
No, don't worry about it. And sadly, for the more observant and keen listeners, you'll notice Matt's not here, but sadly he's been drawn away in the US, so it's just me tonight. But just before we finish, obviously, Davy's going to be up there. Prem finals going to be up there. Are there any other standout moments, like your favourite moments of rugby in your career, or that you sort of stick closely in your memory?
Obviously the debut's huge.
Yeah.
I think my England sort of, I know it wasn't officially capped, but playing for the England under-20s v Scotland Wales was massive for me. And just sort of having the games I had, I felt it sort of, it just made me sort of really confident going into Quins and sort of being able to be myself and play my own game. I think that was probably stands out for me. But yeah, I would say those are the moments in my whole career. Obviously, playing for your first team at school and England under-18 is huge as well. But I think just genuinely just being part of something like the whole squad winning the Prem has been massive, and getting to know sort of some of my childhood heroes has been huge.
Awesome. Well, cheers, buddy, for picking up your evening. And thanks, everyone else, for tuning. We're back again next week with our Lions preview with someone who's been on a tour. So that's quite exciting for us. He's a returner as well. So you might recognise if you head back to Series 1. But he'll get some very interesting views from his time in 2005. So tune back in then. Cheers, guys.
Thanks very much, Freddie. Thanks, guys.
Come on! Come on!
Thanks for listening to the Tap and Go podcast. I'm Guy Thompson and I'm a Looseheads ambassador. The mental health movement, normalising the conversation in rugby. Head over to looseheads.co.uk and get 15% off at the checkout now with code TAP and GO. Take care.